Welcome to Melanated Television. My name is Vanessa XIX, and I have a very special guest with us today.
My name is Jordan Jetson. I don't usually introduce myself. I don't really have much to say.
Okay. Well, I wanted to interview Jordan. Is that I know you're an artist. Is that the name you go by? Is that your artist name?
Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to interview Jordan because I think he's a very intelligent person, and I've seen him speak on a lot of issues that I think is important in our community. So right now, there has been a lot going on, starting from a black man standing up and speaking truth to power, to black men continuously dying. So before we get into the depths of today's discussion and also getting to know Jordan, I wanted to make sure that everyone knows that our state elections are November the 8th, and it's for our legislative. It's to vote people into our legislative branch, which is our state offices. It's the state people who control state laws. So we're voting for a new mayor. We have Mayor Greenberg, and that was the guy who was actually shot at earlier this year in his office. He was shot at. So we have Greenberg, and I learned that he owned the 21C.
Yep.
Yeah, I learned that from Jordan today, that he actually owns the 21C Museum. So he's running for mayor. He said he wants to change the world. We'll see, because they all, give us promises, but we don't know. And then, of course, Mayor Greg Fisher, he's the opponent. We also have Charles Booker running for Senate. We have Charles Booker, and he's going up against Rand Paul. And so they're going to be talking about marijuana. They're going to be basically they're wanting to pass laws in Kentucky for marijuana. So it's a lot going on. But just make sure you guys know, I don't want to sway anyone. All I say is when you vote, make sure you're voting for tangibles and you're voting for someone who's authentic. In my honest opinion, I don't believe a lot of politicians are very authentic. Are you going to vote in this election?
Yeah, I always vote, even if I don't really. So I've been a little disillusioned by the whole two-party system as of late. They seem like the same party to me. We get pretty much the same results. Either way it goes, it seems like we're on the brink of World War III. So I don't look at it the same way. So my vote is just kind of, I'm casting my vote just to be honest about voting when it comes to me wanting other people to voice their opinions. Me personally, that's a personal thing for me. I voted for Kanye. So
you did, really?
Yeah, and it, as we can see, it didn't do much, but it was kind of my thought, like, is it as powerful as everybody says it is? And I was like, well, what if, like, the social perception is the way that everybody says it is? If that's the case, then it stands to reason that somebody who's really popular with no standing in politics would just be the next president. But it didn't happen that way, so. They just went back to another slimy politician guy. Shout out Joe Biden. We see you, pimp. Yeah, that's how things happen. So yeah.
So you vote in your state elections? Like,
Yeah.
Are you like really?
I vote on the local level because I know these people. So like it's very easy for you to get out and meet a Charles Booker or Greg Fisher. He always seems to try to pop up on whatever he can and soak up whatever PR he can. So if you throw an event in the city, he might pop up on you just to get some photo ops. But a lot of these dudes are here in the city, and you can run into them in a store or something. So it's good to know like who has your best interests at heart on a local level. I think that's where it's really, really important.
Did you vote for? So you didn't vote for Biden or Trump. You voted for Kanye.
Yeah, I voted for Kanye.
So I was about to ask you that. Okay. Well, if you are into voting, just make sure, and especially for the black community, we are the most I apologize. The underserved community. We are the most
underrepresented.
Underrepresented. Yes, my words. But yes, we are the least. We are the community who's always at the bottom of everything. So make sure that you are voting for people who are going to help change the state of your communities. Me, my honest opinion also is I don't believe voting really does anything. I believe voting is for everyone. It's not for one particular race. So when you're voting, they're never gonna. Trump did have the platinum plan. Did you hear about his platinum plan? Like, he actually wrote up a platinum plan, and it was to give black businesses a certain amount of money. I'm not 100% sure. I read it so long ago, but I can tag in a link at the bottom and you can look into Trump's platinum plan. But it was a plan dedicated strictly for the African American community. Just saying. So, in other news, we've had a lot going on in hip hop culture. Before I talk about some of the things that's going on with hip hop culture, I want to know, Jordan, what is black culture to you?
Okay, so when we talk about black culture, I feel like it is the current, living, and past representation of the culture of a group of people who were moved through the African diaspora, Middle Passage from Africa to the Caribbean, then eventually to the Southern Americas, made slaves for a good 150 years, and then dealt with a bunch of oppression for the next 300 years. So that specific group of black people, I feel, is what we're talking about when we talk about black culture. Because when you think of like Afro-Caribbean culture and like Afro-Hispanic culture, or like Afro-Latin culture, or like just straight up African culture, they don't really synonymize with us like that. So I feel like it's very particular to us, people who came from slaves and didn't have a cultural background to like go back to when we got free.
So have you heard of the term foundational black American?
I've heard it, but I don't really know.
Okay, so that's basically that's the term for the people that you're basically speaking on, the descendants of slaves who have their roots in America, whose ancestors came from oppression and just what our specific lineage came from and what we dealt with.
So that's the word for the thing I just
that's the word.
I didn't know it was a word for it. Thank you, I appreciate that.
This is one more question regarding black culture. Can you give anything specific that you would think, and are you for reparations? So I want to know something specific that is unique to our culture,
to black culture.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, so I feel like there's a lot of nuances to black culture that are like not very understandable or explainable to other people who just don't get it. And I feel like it's good that it's that way, because in a lot of ways, things that are black culture that become mainstream instantly become kind of sucked up into this corporate machine where it becomes like a capitalist spin, and now all of a sudden like Dolce & Gabbana is selling greens on Thanksgiving or some stupid shit, like, you know what I'm saying? Like it just don't make no sense. But like in that context, like simple stuff like Denzel Washington, he had a very good point about culture versus race. And he was saying like, we're black, right? But like to know what a hot comb smells like in the morning, and like what that does to black people's hair, and like what it means to like get too close to somebody's scalp with one, and like the reaction that you gonna inevitably get, is like a cultural thing. You could not be black and live in a black household and experience all of that and know exactly what I'm talking about. That means you're a part of the culture, but that doesn't make you a part of the race. So that's the difference in between like something cultural and something racial. Like my hair is racial, but the way that I tend to my hair is cultural.
Yeah.
So like in that, like almost everything that we do with what we're given or what we already have is pretty much cultural to us.
Adapting to who we are.
Exactly.
Adapting to the hair, the skin, everything. Which
is like one of our greatest superpowers. Like we make all the worst stuff look like the greatest things in the world, which is perplexing to me, because it's like there's people who have what we want when it comes to things like economic freedom and just peace, not being harassed by people, that look at us and they're like, well, I want to be like them, and we like, that don't make no sense. Like you're glorifying poverty and violence that we have to go through in order to survive because it's us. But that's just because we make it look cool. Like we make everything look great. Like people love chitlins.
We smile through our pain.
Yeah.
We have the best comedians, and a lot of our comedians, they talk about their pain. They talk about
facts.
You know, so
but we have a way to make it like appealing, you know.
For sure, we
So,
sensationalize our pain.
So they're like, I wanna see what that's about.
I want to know what it's like in the hood shooting dice on the corner with the bros, and
you don't.
I want to know what the black barbecues like. Our barbecues for sure you do.
No, you do want to go to the barbecue.
And then, are you for reparations?
I am, but I feel like reparations should come in a form that is realistic, because what they usually do is they'll say like, we need reparations, and they'll say, okay, we're not gonna pay everybody money for a crime we didn't commit. Okay, we get that. But the thing is, it's white people. Am I allowed to say that on your podcast?
You are allowed to say
okay, cool.
anything.
Yeah, so yeah, white people be like, they'd be like, oh yeah, so I don't feel like I committed the crime of slavery, so I don't feel like I should have to pay my tax dollars for reparations because we didn't really do it. But here's the thing. I don't remember what year it was. I want to say like 1928 or something like that. But there was this thing called the Homestead Act, where anybody who lost property in terms of farmland, crop yield, or slaves was given a stipend by the government to take care of their farms and things like that. And a lot of people who are wealthy in America, like generationally wealthy to this day, are the sons and daughters of those people. So they received reparations for losing their slaves, which some people would say is inhumane, but
very.
Regardless of if it is or if it isn't, it was a business plan. And it obviously generated economic growth for a certain people. Now, we were also promised land and livestock in the form of 40 acres and a mule, which I'm sure everybody's heard. 40 acres today is like $5 million or something crazy, depending on where you going and where you're getting it from. So like 40 acres is like a lot of land. It's pretty big. I think they said if they were to give all the original descendants of slaves, like the first generation of slaves' children, 40 acres, then we would take like 5 states or something like that. So to imagine that, to extrapolate outwards to all of us now, they would owe us all of America and some of Europe too, which wouldn't really make sense. But I think we could draw a line in the middle somewhere if y'all just give us a couple of them middle states. You know what I'm saying?
Did you hear a phone ringing?
Yeah, but it's not mine.
I heard a phone in my ear, just saying. So if y'all heard a phone, it may be somebody outside. These mics are very sensitive and they do pick up everything.
We apologize.
But I was listening to you. It kind of did throw me off.
Nah, I caught it too. I was trying to talk over it, but I definitely think we should get like I don't know them. I don't know the names of them because they so mundane and just out of the way. But I think that feeds into a good point. They have a very low population. They have a good crop yield. They're in the middle of a bunch of different belts: the dairy belt, the wheat belt, so they intersect.
Because I know I do want to ask this question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you believe that the United States owes Black Americans reparations?
Yeah, that's why I say we should get the states.
Right. It's really the country of the history and how the country became what it is off of the backs of slaves.
Absolutely, and I feel like there should be a place allotted by the government, and I feel like that's fair, where it should be very easy for Black people to go start a business. Very easy for Black people to go start a farm. Very easy for Black people to go and get their hands into local government. And I feel like those small states with those very small populations can deal with that little bit of upset and rage in their way of life changing, because we've all had to deal with that but them. So, I don't really mind that too much. If that's all that we have to deal with, is upsetting a population of farmers who
Well, Bill
don't
Gates
do
is
nothing.
upsetting them. He's buying up all the farmland. He's probably
Which, that's like, if we move in and build farms and stuff like that, you don't have to worry about the government coming in and stripping all your topsoil away, which is something that's been happening for the last 2 years and nobody's talked about.
we need to come as a community and build and feed our own people,
Facts.
not depend on them. So, all right, hip hop culture. I want to talk about what's going on in our culture. So I do have my own thoughts, like how I view and perceive the world, life. We just had Kanye West, black man, speaking out against what he would say is oppression. He believes, I'm going to say it, he was calling out the Jews, and they were saying he was anti-Semitic. I don't think that speaking the truth is really being anti-something, because he said but I don't know. I can't really say, because there's those white people who say, well, I got black friends, so I can't be a racist, and he has Jewish friends. So I don't think he really has an issue with the people per se versus how the community as a whole runs things. It may just be how the old traditional, like how there's old traditional European white men who control things the way they do, could be the old traditional Jewish who control things they do. I believe every race has pride in themselves, but black Americans. Like, we have pride, but I don't think our pride is strong enough. I don't think we're really loyal to each other that much, because if we was, we'll be looking out for each other instead of killing each other in the streets, left to right.
Very true.
So I don't want to speak too much on Kanye, but I just want to know, do you agree or do you disagree?
Okay, so here's the thing about Kanye, right? And I've always felt this way about Kanye. Love Kanye. So, it's my brother. I'm never gonna openly just hate a black dude for having an opinion. So that's one thing. Kanye has a habit of having a point that is in no way eloquent at all, in any way, shape, or form. He'll come right off the cuff with whatever he's thinking about in the moment, and he'll say it in the worst way that he possibly can. And he's done that multiple times about multiple topics. And we all know this. I call it the Kanye cycle. Kanye will say something ridiculous and offensive. It'll really upset people. Then they'll think about it. They'll pick out what he really meant to say. And then they'll come back and be like, okay, I kind of get what he was saying, but still, that was distasteful. Not once have I ever seen it stop Kanye from getting money. So, as far as being a cat, still not.
All his deals.
I don't think it matters.
He said, I have 120 million in the bank. That's basically saying that's all he has.
All he has is a measly $120 million.
But
that's 9 figures.
Are people going to deem him a liability to do business with him if he decides to invest it?
No,
would you think
because here's the thing. There are people. Trump made more off the MAGA hat than any other president has ever made off merch, period. And I think that goes for Obama and like his Hope campaign as well. I think he smashed the Hope campaign when it came to like sales, and just that hat alone. And he was completely divisive the entire time. The hat itself referred to a time when not everybody had the same rights as everybody else. There were people who were campaigning with that hat on who didn't have the same rights that they would have now back in the Make America Great times, i.e. like white women, right?
I think Black America was better back in the day, though.
It depends on where you're going.
Okay.
Because there's a very narrow window for that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like 30 years.
Yeah.
And it's like, when he says Make America Great, he's talking about a big span of time where it didn't really matter for us too much. And also on top of that, you could openly say like keep the Mexicans out and nobody would bat an eye. Gay people weren't allowed to do this and do that. You know what I'm saying? So it was like a lot of things that like there's a lot of civil liberties that he's not even taking into thought. He's just thinking about like economics, which is only half of dealing with people and being a president. And that was my issue with him. Everybody was like, but he's so great at economics. I'm like, but
you're talking about social justice, social.
As a president, you're a socio-economic figure. You're not just an economic figure. You're not just trying to make us the most money, because if that was the case, you just make everybody slave and call it a day. But we have to balance making the society happy and making the society money. As a president. That's what you're supposed to be doing. But like with Kanye, it's like, do I think that there is a group of old men who are not part of our culture, who may or may not be Jewish people that decide on who goes and who stays, who gets money and who doesn't, as far as they can, because it benefits them in their pockets. Absolutely, of course. Do I think that that's like a Jewish regime that's doing that? No, not really. I just think it just happens to be the people in the entertainment industry who just also so happen to be white or Jewish people. That's fair to say. And when Kanye came back and was like, what he meant to say was he's not afraid of the Jewish mafia. That makes a lot more sense as a sentence than him saying I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people.
Yeah, he should have said that.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like that's you can't say that.
I can't take up for him right there.
That's crazy. But I get what you was trying to say, but you didn't get that message across at all. And then you get to that point where you start offending people who are like super sensitive to racism and oppression and oh my god.
They did go that, you know.
But it's not gonna end Kanye. He has a big let Kanye come out with a Yeezy store. One Yeezy store. Put it in one city, and that's the only place you can get Yeezys from now on.
For sure.
Every time there's a drop, it's gonna be a million people.
What if they deny him land? What if they say you can't buy this?
Well,
he can sue.
There's people like Young Thug who has come out publicly from where he is saying that like Kanye can use my land for anything that he needs. Like he has a support system that will allow him to still do business, and he has a fan base that will still buy from him regardless of what Kanye can say anything.
I really think it could go a great way for Kanye and for our community as well, because our community needs financial backing for sure. That's just the bottom line. And we don't have.
And it's a good eye opener to let us know that like our hands are in somebody else's pockets. Like Kanye, as rich as we saw Kanye as being a billionaire, the minute that they decide we're not gonna do business with this guy no more, now he's just not all of a sudden. That means that our investments are in the hands of somebody else.
And that's when we have to realize you don't need to be a billionaire. I feel like as long as you can take care of your family, pay your bills, not stress about money, that's the ultimate form of happiness. Just not having to worry about bills. But you don't gotta be a billionaire. I feel like that's greed. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
So it's like we get so caught up in, well, that's millions and millions of dollars. You know, when people get that much money, they lose their minds. People can't really handle that. Those people, they become some of the most immoral people you would ever meet. Like the things they do behind closed doors, you wouldn't even imagine. That's why they make all these people sign non-disclosure agreements, because of the things that they do. So, talking about music and the culture, we just had a young black man killed yesterday morning or the night before Takeoff from the Migos.
Rest in peace, Takeoff.
Rest in peace, Takeoff. So I believe that, okay, so let's talk about the circumstances surrounding his death. They said that it was a dice game, but then I just listened to a lady. She actually just left the Houston Police Department. She had spoken and called in to be a voice to talk about what really happened, because whenever a black person is dies, especially someone with money in the entertainment business, it's always deemed as a conspiracy. You know, it's never okay, somebody got into a dispute and somebody's pride, because when you got all that money, even just with black men who feel like there's something, and a lot of them are, but some of them are just full of pride, not really full of God and substance. It's their pride that drives them. So your pride is your destruction. It becomes before your destruction. So, you know, they don't believe that it could be somebody else. Basically, so, I'm sorry, I got off topic, whatever. But basically, the circumstances was the lady called in and said that it had nothing to do with a dice game. It all had to do with Quavo and Takeoff were trying to break up a dispute. My whole things with these situations is I wasn't there, so I can't say it was a government hit. And I wasn't there, so I can't say it was a dice game or that they was breaking. I don't know really what happened. I can only go by if I was there or not. And like, okay, they have video evidence, and you know, they say, why do we always show somebody bleeding out and dead? I believe that it's okay to pull out the camera when the crime is being committed. So we can get the perpetrator. Don't, you know, pull out the camera because somebody's dead on the ground. Pull out the camera.
And I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you just said that too, because it's I've been seeing a lot of Charleston White lately. You know what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Charleston White been going crazy, right? And a lot of people don't like it, and they call him a snitch.
Mm-hmm.
But in the hood that I was raised in the Russell. So shout out to anybody from around my way in West Louisville. But in the hood that I was raised in, I was always taught that the G code only applies to G's, right?
Okay.
So you have to be in some kind of criminal element for any of that to apply to you, as far as like the loyalty amongst gangsters and stuff like that goes on amongst thieves and things of that nature, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you got somebody like a Charleston White who openly proclaims to not be gangster, who openly proclaims to just be a civilian, a regular citizen who cares about the people around him in his society, in his culture, that is the type of person that's supposed to be calling the police or supposed to be catching a crime on video and reporting it to somebody. That's not snitching. And I wish that we could separate that, because a lot of the times there'll be people who it'll be a situation like this where there's a crime surrounded by civilians and everybody saw it but nobody saw it. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, y'all don't have to adhere to what you consider to be the G code. If you feel unsafe because there's crime in your area and you feel the need to report the crime, as a civilian, you're supposed to be able to do that. As a criminal, if I'm a criminal, I'm not supposed to look at you like a target because you may care about the neighborhood, because we live in the same neighborhood.
But you know, a criminal, they're gonna look at you as a target.
Of course, that's the criminal element.
Yeah.
But I think that's where the concept of honor has left the criminal element. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, it used to be like an honor amongst thieves. It was like certain people that you just don't do stuff to. And if somebody's granny sees me rob somebody and she called the police and say, well, it was little June that robbed that dude, and I go to jail for that, I can't come back and retaliate against your granny. Because first of all, I'm supposed to have some form of respect for this woman in my community, to where she don't even see me accost nobody, or cause no crimes, or coerce nobody to do nothing in her neighborhood. She should be safe from it. And if I'm not able to keep that away from the people who it should be kept away from, then it is what it is at that point. You know, they should be, if a civilian sees a crime, they should be allowed to report that. So that's the thing I believe. But also on top of that, I feel like when it comes to these situations like Takeoff and like P&B Rock, who just recently passed, right? People try to make these like sensationalist conspiracies about him. I think a lot of the times we forget that these situations happen like every day with nameless people. So we see it all the time. So like when you dealing with it from that perspective, it's very easy to see like P&B Rock wasn't technically set up. He was just a lick. He was riding around rich in a bad neighborhood, going to a popular place, and he had a lot of eyes on him. That's how it works. Somebody saw him, somebody who lives in poverty, unfortunately, and would do whatever they can to get out of that situation, and a lot of the times that's all they have is violence amongst others. So, you know, when it comes to the whole Takeoff situation, whether they was playing dice actively and it was about money, or if it was just about people's prides or egos, that's a situation that you see all the time at dice games. It don't have to be a sacrifice by Quavo or whatever the hell y'all saying to the Illuminati for somebody to die at a dice game. It happens every day. It's just y'all only really notice when it's somebody that's like rich and famous, and I think that highlights the social view of these situations, because it happens constantly. I know plenty of people that die at dice games, but y'all don't know them, and I know them personally. But because it happened to Takeoff and y'all feel like y'all know Takeoff, now all of a sudden it has to be like a movie like plot behind it.
Right.
And it don't always have to be that way.
It does not. It does not. And that's why I really hate that we always jump to conspiracy when it comes to these situations. Like, why does it always have to be a government hit? Y'all know how the streets is. Y'all know how the pride of a man is. It's like, it's not always a conspiracy. Like me, there has to be some type of evidence to lead me to a conspiracy. People were looking up videos with symbols, and I'm just like, that's just doing too much. Like, that's just creating false narratives because you see somebody shaped a certain, like, do something, I don't know, like, somebody may throw up a symbol and you feel like it's this and this and this and this and that, but I don't believe that people who run to conspiracy, I don't want to, like, generalize people who have these conspiracies mindsets, but I don't think they're people who live in reality 100% of the time. They don't ever really look at the facts and the evidence in front of them to create conclusions. They go by narratives, because these are people who I believe have always been like felt like life has been unfair, and that they've always been like in this. I believe it's kind of almost like a victim mentality. Like, we don't ever hold the people in the community, like everybody who's killed black men in the past couple of years. Majority of them have been locked up, so we know who the perpetrators are, and they've always been black men. I think that there's a narrative that I always like. I believe I do want to debunk a lot of the narratives within our community, and it's like saying that we're inherently evil. We are taught that we are inherently evil, inherently criminal. Like me having this conversation could make somebody feel like I'm just bashing black, people, men, and saying that we're this, and that. We do perpetrate it a lot in our music. We definitely do. That is something that I'm so strong about, and that's why I want to talk to you, because I value like the music. Your music is really good, like it really is, and I feel like you are an artist. Like I've listened to your music. It's poetic. It's deep. Like, what was the song? Let It Go. It was a song called Let It Go. I'm like, it was very like, it was like somebody just comforting you, like just let it go. Like it was like a affirmation, and like it was like just know what I'm saying?
Basically, yeah.
It was pretty. It was good. It was therapeutic for sure. And so yeah, it's like I don't think that we promote. Like I remember I saw a post that you had made. So I'm gonna say I first caught wind of you when Nipsey Hussle passed away.
Mm-hmm.
I was very upset about it, and I'm very vocal on my social media platforms, because I feel like there's a lot of things that need to be said that don't be said. People are afraid to say it, and I'm not afraid to speak whatever or say what needs to be said, because I'm someone who is passionately wanting change for our people. So if we just sitting around and seeing stuff is wrong and nobody's saying nothing, then nothing's ever gonna change. And I'm just gonna be me and say what needs to be said. Like I want to fight for everything for us, because I do believe we are great, and I do believe we are God's people. Everything that we do, we are dominant in. We're excellent in. When it comes to music, when it comes to athletics, we got Denzel Washington. I mean, he's still fine. He's probably one of the best actors ever. We got Will Smith. Like, we dominate everything. Obama was, okay, I'm not gonna say Obama, but he was a great representation of black men.
I will say that as far as presidency goes, he's one of the most charismatic presidents we've ever had, and that's like top 3 traits in a president. Like being charismatic and getting people to believe in you is a huge thing for presidents. And like he's up there with JFK and Abraham Lincoln. So, it's like he's in a place where, as far as like the image of a president goes, he's up there. But like as far as like policy and stuff goes, he did the same thing they all did.
For sure. So it's just like.
But no, I feel what you're saying though. Like it's definitely there's definitely an appeal to the way that we do things. Like there was even a dude who it was a black dude who'd been playing hockey, and he was like, he's dominating hockey. He's like, well, we just never got in hockey. Now that we in it, like, good luck.
Black men that dominated golf.
Yeah, every time we like step into, and it's a lot of different things. You would think that it would just be the athletic sector, but just
pastors,
recently,
even black pastors are the deepest to me. I've been to
oh man, black church is the greatest.
Yeah.
But like I think the best example would be black women in education. Black women were let into education in America dead last, because they not only were black, but they were also women. So not only did they have to deal with civil rights, they also had to deal with suffrage too. And they came at different times. You know what I'm saying? So like y'all, I'm not sure, I'm pretty sure civil rights came first. But
women's suffrage was like the 1920s.
The 1920s.
Yeah, that started with white women though. They were.
But you see my point though.
Yes.
So like even when at a certain point y'all was supposed to be free, y'all still didn't get the freedom y'all was supposed to get from either. If it was civil rights first, y'all got freedom as black people, but not as women. And if it was suffrage first, y'all got freedom as women, but not as black people. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to stuff like education, y'all got the shortest end of the stick of anybody who's ever stepped foot in America, period. Maybe besides the indigenous people who was just carted off to a fucking reservation and then left to die, basically. But
they do go to college for
because they live off the land. Also, they not just gonna die off the land. You know what I'm saying? They've been here, so it's like you can't just kill them by exiling them to the desert like they thought they would.
Indigenous people are Hispanics, who we call Mexicans. Those are Native Americans. All of them. So it's a whole bunch of them, but they being conquered by the
But
Spanish.
but my point being that like black women were led into the sphere of the scholar last in America, right? In the Western culture, and yet black women are the most educated people on the planet right now as we speak. Period. The most degrees come from the American black woman. Period. Which means in the shortest amount of time, y'all are already the smartest people on the fucking planet. So that tells me that like not only is it a physical thing, but there's also a mental aspect to the way that black people just kind
Women
of
are smarter than men. Is that
dominate.
what
No, because like I said, it's black women. So
black
it's
women
very
were
then
smarter?
yes.
Okay.
It's a very particular group of people.
Okay.
It's black women that hold the title above anybody else. Then white men in STEM, then white women. So white women fall like third, but black women are still the most educated, even over the white men, and they've been the most, they've gotten the most formal education over the course of history. Period.
Okay. So, bring me back to music. I know but still, I love to hear that, because we do need to know that we are the best and we need to behave as such.
There's an edge there. I'll just say that.
So it's like I said, I don't want me speaking again about these things to show that we're inherently criminal. I believe that, okay, if I've studied crime because I listen to my podcast. I listen to people who speak detectives, criminal psychologists. I want to know the psychology of crime. I want to know the statistics. I want to know everything. The biggest criminals, the most violent criminals, are white men. Their crimes stem from sadism and, of course, terrible upbringings, childhood. Like they were abused. They grow up and then they start going on these. They break, like Jeffrey Dahmer, like Ted Bundy. The Zodiac killers. We've had so many people who, white men and even sometimes Hispanic men as well. Those are the most violent criminals, and they harm everyone. When it comes to black crimes, I've noticed the majority of our crimes are like petty crimes, like stealing. So I'm thinking, okay, they say that a lot of our crimes are due to proximity. So us killing each other is due to proximity. We're in the same community.
Right.
So when we see these, black men robbing, that's because of lack of resources. That's because we don't have resources.
Of course.
I believe a lot of our crimes stem from lack of resources, and not because we're mentally demented. Like we have a small percentage, but as a whole, if you look at our crimes, it's due to not having resources and not being poured into. We don't go out and just snap. Now there was a young person who actually was a black kid who had shot 3 people in Illinois. They called it a mass shooting. I think a mass shooting is like a certain amount it has to meet to make that criteria.
Right.
But it was a young black man who did it. But you don't hear that. Like we don't. That's not what we do. So that's why I fight so much for our empowerment, for us to educate ourselves, and for us to truly become one as a community. Now, with what happened with Takeoff, I believe that was a whole pride thing, maybe. Like just because I'm like, why was guns? And she said there was only one group. The lady who called in to speak on what happened, she said there was only one group of people who had guns. So I don't even think Quavo. I'm not going to speak on this one, but I don't think Quavo and Takeoff and them had guns. Like I don't think they was there to lose, start shooting and whatever.
I'm sure they didn't like personally. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause they got a lot. It's a high risk for them.
So like I said, I met you. I first noticed you around Nipsey Hussle, and then I saw you was releasing the app when he passed away, and I was like, okay, you had made a live, and you was talking about. So I had made a comment stating that I believe this was a black man killing another black man. I didn't believe this was some conspiracy government hit, and then I saw you made a video talking about that as well, and I'm like, I would feel like the only person who thought like it. And sometimes you feel like I'm the only person who thinks like it, so am I wrong? But I know I'm not wrong. I'm just not gonna. I'm very confident in what I believe and what I think. And so then I saw you had made a video and you kind of was like, man, y'all know what we do. You was holding black men accountable. And I was like, that's what's up, because there are people who actually, you know what I'm saying, we taking it to our communities. Like we living in the reality of what we do, and as a whole, we're not looking at some magical man and whatever. I believe there are powers that be, like the Jewish people, the white people, who's just speaking about the politicians, but within our people, not everything is a conspiracy. So I just appreciated seeing that, because I'm like, yes, there's somebody else who thinks like me, and he's actually speaking real shit, and it's a black man, you know, because sometimes maybe me being a woman, a lot of men don't really want to hear what they don't listen to me because I feel like a lot of men is like, how dare she say that? How dare she speak against this and speak against the code? And
which don't make no sense to me because black women are just as involved in hood politics as black men are. Y'all gotta live her too. If there's a black man in a black community, chances are his woman is black and she's with him in that community. So why wouldn't you have as much to say about it as I do if I have something to say about it personally?
Somebody told me I should have been killed. A black man, he said, you should be killed by the way you think because I said it was a nigga that killed the nigga, because it was. There was evidence. It was a nigga who killed the nigga. I didn't see no government. I didn't see nothing like that. And most of the time when situations like this happen, if he was a rat, he wouldn't be in jail right now. He wouldn't be serving no time. You know what I'm saying? If he was,
he'd being protected. He definitely wouldn't have went to gym pop. Even if he would have went to jail, he would have been in protective custody.
Right.
And he more than likely wouldn't even went to jail. He probably would have went to witness protection for it being such like a high profile case. But nobody on their side was arrested. On Nip's side was arrested. So that's how you kind of know. Like, people from the hood know like the way a discovery works. Once the discovery drops, it's all in the open. You know,
right.
like, and then once it gets to one person, it's pretty much out in the open for everybody to see and know. Somebody's gonna find it somewhere. It's in somebody's record somewhere. It's gonna come up. You know what I'm saying? Like, and when it comes to situations like that, like how you said, the takeoff thing kind of stems from black men's pride. We have a dude, was it Eric Holder?
That's the one who killed Nick. Yeah.
He was known to be a snitch, but for other situations. You know what I'm saying? It came out in his paperwork. Everybody in their neighborhood knew what was up. So when he came up to Nip, for whatever reason, whatever he had to say to him, and Nip outed him in public as a snitch and told him that he can't come around here moving like that because that ain't appropriate to the G code, which he was supposed to be adhering to because he's supposed to be a gangster. You know what I'm saying? So with him being in that position, you can't talk to the police. You don't have the same privileges as a grandmother in the neighborhood who saw some shit, some foul shit, and went to go tell somebody because she's supposed to. You of the criminal element. So what you're doing is you telling on competition or a friend or ally at that point. So now you've crossed the line from handling it yourself, which is what you're supposed to do in the G code, to letting the police handle it for you, which is something that we don't do in our communities.
We should sometimes though.
That's for y'all though. I'm talking about. I'm
putting
putting myself in the position of somebody.
G code.
Yeah, and
or what's the code called?
I'll just say the G code.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just a like a honor amongst thieves thing. Like you don't steal from the same thieves that you steal with type deal. You know what I'm saying? So like when you got a situation like that where a dude's pride is on the line, everybody in the hood knows now that he's been telling on people, and it's been co-signed by arguably the second most famous dude from around here. We got like
who's buying up the
you
whole.
know, we got like Snoop, and then Nip was like on his way to be right behind dude. Like Nip had the potential to be like Tupac. You know what I'm saying? So it was like really up from wherever he was, and he had just really only dropped like his second big album. So it was ridiculous the type of growth that he was doing. He was doing songs with Jay-Z and everything. But like if somebody from that position with that much reverence tells you that you're unworthy, and you a black man and he's also a black man and y'all grew up together, you watch him skyrocket to unbelievable heights, and you still pretty much where you are, and the next time that you try to talk to him about something, he tells you that you've done something that deems you unworthy as a man. Of course, your pride's gonna be touched by that. That's gonna destroy you, especially when you look around and you notice that everybody's co-signing this because people believe what Nipsey gotta say. So if Nipsey said it gotta be true because Nipsey don't lie.
Nipsey was black God, and he was like, "You can't be around here. We don't have your kind around righteousness. You know, we don't need that. We don't need." And look what happened to him.
There's a theory called Occam's razor, which I subscribe to pretty much constantly, and it goes like 9 times out of 10, the simplest solution is what the answer really is. So like you can build a big crazy narrative to make things fit certain ways and stuff like that.
Fit your biases.
But majority of the time, whatever the simplest answer is probably the answer. And a lot of the times, people's emotions are the simplest answer.
Okay, so back to you. So I saw that around that time also. I think that's when you released the album. Was it Diva?
Yeah.
Dava. Well, okay, so I listened to the song Dava. I love the video. Okay, so don't get me wrong, but I saw you sitting in a chair and it looked like the Game of Thrones. Is that what that was? Okay, it wasn't a reference. It was a throne.
Yeah.
Okay.
I found it in Burnham Forest, and I just kind of.
It gave me Game of Thrones vibes. I was like, is this a Game of Thrones? But it's what, because I saw like it looked like the sword. Have you seen Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
You seen the whole thing? So
Yeah. I saw all the Game of Thrones, but I didn't see all. I haven't watched all the new one.
The House of Dragon. House of Dragon is crazy.
Yeah.
Y'all.
Made the first couple episodes made me uncomfortable with the little girl,
Right.
so I was like.
It was talking about the bloodline of the incest in the
Yeah,
family.
I was like, I got a daughter. It's kind of making me uncomfortable.
Yeah, it was.
And there was a character who like they was trying to sell like somebody's daughter off to the dude, and he was just
and
like,
she was the black.
Yeah, he was just like, no, I don't want to do it. Like, and I felt like him. I'm like, yeah, no, yeah, I feel the same way, bro.
For sure.
Just weird, but you know.
So you had okay, what does Deva mean?
Okay, so the Deva are a group of celestial beings in a book called the Mahabharata, which is like Hindu religion. So it's not really like a Bible. It's more like a collection of stories about like what their deities kind of do.
Okay.
And the term Deva is just used to describe like a being of supernatural portent, like on either side. So like there are good Deva and there are bad Deva. I think it's like a Ashura and I forget the other word, but they're like a parallel, but they're all considered like divine celestial beings, and that was like the overarching theme of the album.
That was a great song. I really like it. I'm like, this is good. He is really a great artist. Like,
thank you.
From the spirit, the beat, just everything. I really think that you're great. Like you're good. Like,
thank you.
Of course, I know you still working on it and stuff, but I thought it was good. And it's like the type of music that I've heard from you so far is the type of music that I think should represent us as a whole. Like I think we need to get into, cause I saw you made a status too talking about we complain about, the music that's talking about violence and degrading women, degrading men, pussy power, slutting women out, slutting niggas out. You know what I'm saying? I don't like to listen to music like that because it doesn't tap into anything positive in my mental and my spirit. I like to be fed by anything I listen to. Like Lauryn Hill, you know what I'm saying? Like anything I listen to gotta be putting something in me. Anything I look at, it has to be of substance. I don't want to just waste brain cells on stupidity. So I think that you made a status talking about that, and it said that there is a lot of great artists out here, and I agree with you on that. But I think that the positive, is not what is that we don't push that. Because if you listen to B96, that is terrible. Like I can't listen to B96 with my daughter.
Yeah, it's true.
And Megan Thee Stallion song came on the other day, and she just started singing it, and it was that one talking about she was a thought walking thought something. Yeah, my daughter started singing it, and I had to turn it off because even I remember we was listening to a song by 21 Savage and Drake, which I do like. It's called Knife Talk or something like that.
Yeah.
She was singing Gang. I'm like,
You weren't feeling it.
No,
yeah.
I like that song though, and it bops for sure. But it's like we always talking about our pride and how we're better than the next nigga or how we got the most. This like that is what I believe a lot of men didn't have fathers. So they're speaking on what they believe manhood is, and they're feeding into the masses of other men who didn't have fathers. And I think that, I don't know, why do you think that like you said, we have positive artists. Why don't you think that is how we are represented, like the biggest way of how we are represented?
Okay, so that is a very nuanced and multifaceted question that I think like has a lot to do with the culture as a whole and also the way that people perceive things. Like from way back in like evolutionary fucking being in the forest somewhere having to fend for your life, you are much more apt to notice negative things than you are positive things, because a negative thing can instantly kill you if you're in the position of an animal trying to survive, right? And I think a lot of the times we do this thing where we remove ourselves from the animal position, but we still have a lot of very basic animal traits. Like a lot of women will tell you they don't like violence, but for some reason will find themselves physically attracted to violent men who have a proclivity to be violent to other men, not to them. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So like,
I believe that's what masculinity and protecting.
But that is subconscious to going way back to when we was hunter gatherers, and you needed your spouse, if you were a woman, to be strong enough to protect you from a mountain lion that might crawl into your cave at night. You know what I'm saying? Like he got to be able to spring up in the middle of the night and choke a lion with his bare hands, and that will make you more apt to have children with him to then continue the genetic line. So that's something that we don't like apply when it comes to like.
All right, we are back. We just had to take a quick little break, but I wanted to continue this conversation, getting to know Jordan, the artist. What else would you call yourself? Father, black man, all that stuff. Like you're more than just an artist, right?
Philosopher, film critic.
Okay. Film critic?
Yeah.
You said you liked the new Batman, didn't you say that?
Yeah.
That was terrible.
I like the new Batman. I like him as a Batman.
What was his name?
You talking about Robert Pattinson?
Twilight dude?
Yeah, Twilight.
You really liked him as Batman.
I did like him as Batman. He was a much better Batman than Christopher Nolan's Batman.
Nolan?
Christian Bale Batman.
Okay.
He couldn't fight. He had very
Okay,
bad
that's fine.
choreography.
Okay.
He was terrible as Bruce Wayne. I felt like he was a little too angsty. I know it was like year 2, but year 2 Batman's supposed to be like 30 years old. Okay. So there's no reason for him to be like so angsty and like teenager and like, I'm so sad. And he was like walking around with the eyeliner makeup still. Like they did everything they could to make him look as weak and frail as possible when it came to Bruce Wayne.
Okay.
I didn't like that part. But he was a good Batman. He was throwing hands. He did his thing.
So you said that you believe that we are attracted to negativity.
Yes. Well, I believe that we have a proclivity to notice negativity more than we do positivity. No, that's just a human thing.
Okay, so let's talk about why do you believe the white Americans, their music is so positive and so. I mean, they do have their subcultures.
I don't think it is.
Like Marilyn Manson.
I don't think it is. I think that majority of white culture is about being cheated on or being hurt by someone.
Okay.
And I think that filters down into like.
But what about killing each other?
No, well, I was about to say, I think that filters down into like a victim's mentality. Whereas in the black community, we tend to have like a victimizer's mentality.
We victimize people.
We victimize each other.
Yeah.
So we look at each other like it's better if I dominate you than if I'm dominated. Because it feels like a jungle in where we are. But if you think of like poor white people, they have that same tendency, and they kind of do make similar music to us when it comes to like being violent or killing each other. Even country dudes, like a third of their content is about how they have a gun and they will use it on you. You know what I'm saying?
I see.
And then when you think about what kind of culture is like country culture, it's poor white culture. You know, so like poor white culture is about guns and women and trucks and beer. You know what I'm saying? And poor black culture is about guns and women and weed and cars. So it's a damn near a direct one-for-one parallel, if you want to be honest. We just don't like each other because one side or the other can be racist at any given time. So, you know, when I feel this way about rednecks and they feel this way about niggas, then we have an issue. So, you know, that's where the problem comes in. We butt heads.
Okay, so how long have you been rapping? Well, been an artist. How long have you been an artist?
I've been a professional musician for 7 years.
Okay.
I've been rapping since I was 8, so that's 21 years now.
So what was it that made you want to take that career path?
I spent a lot of my time going unheard as a kid. I dabbled in the criminal element a little bit, which told me that I should, majority of the time, be anonymous. But even before that, I felt unheard by like family. I was pretty small, like my whole life I was pretty much smaller than all my cousins. which like led me to be more aggressive, have like a Napoleon complex.
You have a Napoleon? I'm sorry.
No, not anymore. I've been in therapy and
Okay.
all
Okay.
kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't play it no more. We here over here, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I'm a grown ass man, so we ain't got
Right.
time to
Right.
be playing like emotion games.
For sure.
But yeah, like I had the general like teenage angst problems that you would have in that position, being weak and unhurt. Until I found myself with some sort of power, and then I pretty much abused it like everybody else who gets power and they're not ready for it. I had to learn how to bounce.
You care to share what your power was that you found?
Persuasion.
Mm.
I don't know what it is about convincing people of things, but I learned at an early age that I was very convincing, and that I could convince people that reality was something that it wasn't, which it played into my hand in situations where like I would be in school and I would be hanging with people who everybody would perceive as like bad kids, but I wouldn't be perceived as a bad kid myself because of my ability to persuade people's perceptions of me.
So you say you hung in the wrong crowds?
Absolutely.
As we all have at times. Not all of us, but yes, for sure.
I mean, sometimes what's considered the wrong crowd could just be people who are faced with the same situations as you and handled them differently. And that's a lot of the times what I saw in people that like were my friends at that time. Like we all grew up in the same neighborhoods. Like when I went to high school, all the faculty and stuff in Eastern High School, I'm calling y'all out too. They called us M Block, right? Like a jail cell, yeah, like a cell block, because we were all from categorically. Like when you looked at the paperwork, if we all got in trouble that day, me and all my friends, we all got into a fight or something, right? So they pull up all our paperwork back to back. You would flip through the paperwork and you would see like me, Magazine Street, and then you would flip the page to my friend, and then it's like EJ, Magazine Street, and then his brother Taylor, Magazine Street. Then you flip the page, Tim, Madison Street, David, Madison Street, Charlie, Muhammad Ali Street. So like all of us were from a street that started with an M, and it was all downtown in the same little cluster of neighborhoods in Russell, right? So they took to calling us M Block once they figured that out. So they wouldn't even call us by our names, which like dehumanized us.
Was that the school to prison pipeline type of thing?
It felt like it. Absolutely. Yeah, it definitely felt like it. I got in trouble one time for like exposing like a network of snitches they had called the Crime Stoppers, where basically they would just have a guy come tell on people and they would pay them for telling.
Yeah, you exposed the snitch.
Well, I found out where they were having their meetings at, and I told everybody, so I got in trouble for that. So like I would be involved in the criminal element in a way that like didn't completely implicate me. You know what I'm saying? Like I would find myself a lot of times planning stuff for my friends. You know what I'm saying? Like we would do shit. I'd be like, that's not smart. We should do this. You know what I'm saying? We should do it. If you do that and do it there, you know what I'm saying? There's a camera right there. You might get caught. You might want to rework your plan. I'm a project manager. Like now to this day, like I have certification for it now. But what I didn't realize was I was doing project management for my friends back when we was doing nefarious shit we wasn't supposed to be doing.
So, when it comes to your music, what inspires your content?
Just my personal experience and the way that it filters through my own perception of things. Like you said, like with the Nipsey post, I tend to have a unique view on things that like most people don't kind of see. So music is a very easy way for me to put that into a format that people care about. Because that was actually like the first time that I realized I had the ability to persuade people. It was when I started making music, and I would say things like, I'm the greatest rapper, and people would be like, oh wait, you are? And I'd be like, wait a minute, you believe that because I said it in that song. And it's like it kind of clicked to me that like the things that I say in my music like hold some kind of relevance to people, and they take that and like incorporate it into what they believe is the truth. So I have to say things that make the truth a better thing. Like if I have the power to change what the truth is, then it's my duty as an artist to give you things that make your truth objectively better.
For sure. So you have a song called Blessed. Are you religious? Do you believe in a religion? Do you believe in a higher power?
So, I was raised in church, like most black people.
Baptist?
Family church. I'm not even sure.
Okay.
I couldn't even tell you.
Do you know the name of your church?
Seven Angels Church of Truth. It's an
I've
an AME church. It's a family church. It's a AME church. I don't really know what AME stands for.
Is it Adventist? No, not a 7-day. No.
I'm not even sure. I couldn't even tell you. But just very black. Your standard. Come to church, sing some songs, do some testimonies. Pastor preaches for a little bit. There's some more testimonies. He did, yes and no.
Okay.
Like he always had like a message to give you, and it was always supported by passages from the Bible, but it was always like very relevant to my personal life specifically. I don't know how he did it. Shout out to my uncle Audrey, because that's my uncle. The pastor's my uncle. Like yeah, it's a family church, like for real. Like the elders are my grandparents. The pastor's my uncle. The first lady of the church is like my grandmother's sister.
Okay.
And like everybody in the church is both a member and a part of the family also.
Okay. That is what's up. So church, I would say spirituality has been part of your upbringing in a way.
Yeah, but I wouldn't consider myself religious. But I also am an ordained minister. I'm a weird guy.
Really?
Yeah, I'm a weird guy. I'm really weird.
So you went to get, how do you become ordained minister?
Ordination is easy. You can do it online.
Okay. So what made you do that? Are you gonna like marry people? Are you gonna?
Yeah, I'll marry people if they want me to. Like,
okay.
You know, keep it cheap for the homies. But really, it was the first step in me getting certification through for demonology.
So you want to study demons?
Well, I was interested in exorcism.
Oh, you.
So I learned how to do exorcisms, and I became.
You've done one before?
And no.
Oh.
No, not yet. But I became an ordained minister, so that, as far as the paperwork goes, I'm legally allowed to perform exorcisms.
Have you ever? Do you believe you've had demons?
Do I believe I've had demons?
Do you believe you ever needed an exorcism?
I don't believe that I've had an external demon possess me. No.
Okay. Do you believe that can happen?
Yes, I do believe that people can be influenced by other entities.
Okay. So, I do want to know what was your interest in demonology and wanting to perform exorcisms, and that's interesting. I've never heard nobody say that.
Yeah, a lot of people ask that. I had a recent, I guess, like spiritual experience, I guess you could say, where I feel like I basically heard the voice of God myself. It came shortly after I went to therapy, and I was dealing with some issues in my personal life regarding I
want to cut you off. That's very important. I've heard a lot of black men say that therapy is not really productive or
ridiculous. Go to therapy.
Well, I've heard a lot of black men say, "What is therapy? It's not going to do anything." Like I've heard people really say that.
And a lot of people they'll go to therapy the first time, and their therapist won't do exactly what they need them to do because it won't be like a proper match for them. Personalities are very important when it comes to therapists. Mm-hmm. And I was lucky enough to get matched with a therapist who, Cassandra Gray. She works for Creative Spirits. Wonderful woman. She understands the black experience, being a black woman herself, so she just kind of understands where I was coming from. And Creative Spirits is like they do things for artists primarily. I'm sorry, you hungry? You gotta get
I'm starving, but I'm good.
Okay. But yeah, she was just very wonderful to me. She helped me unpack a lot of my issues. She gave me names for a lot of the things that I didn't know were named, and helped me understand that it was stuff that is not totally unique to me, but it's things that people have gone through, and there's processes that you can walk through to help you with a lot of the defensive problems that people have when it comes to communication, or people will to be like, I don't know why, but I just snapped on that person. I don't know where that came from. Like, that's deep rooted somewhere in something, and you can unpack that and heal from it and not respond that way. And I never knew that. But like in learning that, it was just like amazing to me. But I was just kind of up one night, and I remember experiencing what I kind of consider to be like an apotheosis, like touching God, because everything got really quiet, like dead silent, and then all of a sudden,
sober?
Yeah, and then all of a sudden I heard like this like deep ringing in my ears, like to the point to where like I had to like clasp my head in between my arms and like put it in between my legs, because it was like felt like my head was gonna explode. You know what I'm saying? And that went on for like maybe like 30 seconds, but it felt like an hour of just like constant ringing in my ears. And after that, for like a period of maybe 3 or 4 hours, every question that I asked myself in my head, I got an answer to immediately. And that moment helps me rewire myself, like from the bottom to the top. Like every question that I had about myself, and like the things that I felt about myself, and all like my insecurities and like the negative things that I thought about myself or others, or like problems that I had with communication, just instantly just came right up. Like, and it was stuff that I would be like, I don't know why this is that way, but like when I would ask myself in this particular moment, like, why is it this way? It was like, it's because of this. And I was like, you know, that makes a lot of sense. Why is it this way? Because of this. And I'm like, oh. So I felt like I spoke to God that day. So that was like my first big like spiritual experience myself. And from there, I just kept receiving signs that like my interest in like learning theology was like leading me towards just I don't know, just the process of learning exorcism.
What is your sign?
I'm a Virgo.
Oh, okay. That's all I want to know.
I don't know what that means.
I just wanted to know, because sometimes I do believe people's sign. I don't get too deep into the signs, but I have these biases when it comes to every sign, and I'm like, this sign is something this, you know. So I just want to know.
Does that fit the bias?
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I don't know. It just I got into angelology, which is basically like the study of the choirs of angels in the Christian hierarchy, like under God. Then I got into like I had already been studying like other mythologies, started noticing a bunch of parallels in between like celestial bodies and like Christian archangels, which parallel to like Greek gods, which parallel to like Yoruba deities and stuff.
I don't mean to cut you off, but I just want to get like, so like your music, I think it's spiritual in a way. You know, I can feel a spiritual aspect to it. You can feel your spirit, like the positivity, and you can feel it. Music is a feeling, really. So that's the feeling that I get: positive, uplifting, and like you said that you just the interesting fact that you tell me how you want to exorcise demons out of people. When do you think you'll do your first exorcism?
When I'm presenting my first possessed person or thing.
You know, there's a whole lot of them living under viaducts.
I don't know. I've never met a possessed homeless person.
I feel like they're all possessed. You just think they're just mentally ill.
I think they have fallen onto a very hard time in life, and it leads people to be very hard.
Have you met a possessed person before?
Not that I can tell. I've met evil people. But I feel like a majority of people are evil of their own accord. I feel like the biggest demon is the human being.
I've met a possessed person before.
Really?
Yeah. But it's not what the movies give us what possession is.
Yeah.
It's actually seeing something in somebody. Like really seeing something there in your spirit. It's dark.
Yeah.
That's what I believe is a form of possession. You know, the eyes are the keys to the soul. You see people talk about things. When you just see how people move, even when people get drunk, you see them truly. Like, that's what they call it, wine and spirit. I was taught that about this lady.
Oh, yeah, facts.
Wines and spirits, because it brings some spirits out of you. Stuff like most serial killers, I was like when you look at their criminal profiles, a lot of them were drunk when they committed crimes. A lot of them, when they get drunk and then they wake up and somebody's dead, or somebody's body is cut open, and just crazy stuff. So I think that I've definitely seen possession in people, but it's not. I think that what the movies give us, I think it's a sensation. It's extra. I don't think that people are really turning their heads and spitting. I feel like when it gets to that extent, that is someone who is like a schizophrenic, or that is someone who, there are people with multiple personalities. So
well,
I don't want to get too deep into that, but it's just interesting, you know. My mom's brother actually, she told me that him and his friends were actually performing an exorcism. R.I.P. to my uncle. But yeah, she told me that a long time ago they were performing an exorcism, and my uncle couldn't take it. But his friend, like one of his best friends, I think he's an ordained minister, pastor, but he was trying to exorcise somebody. I don't know if it was successful or not, but yeah. But
check your cord at the bottom.
My bad. Okay, so like I said, my biggest point really was to just talk about Black culture and the music that I think that the music industry and the way that we portray ourselves is so distasteful. And I think that, you know, the minds of our people are so weak. I think that innately we are always looking for some type of leader. Someone may stand up and speak for us, and we deem them a leader, instead of us taking and all of us leading in ways and helping each other in ways. So it's like, I don't know why or how we can start to push more of a positive narrative. Like, we have men like you who push the positive narratives. You know, Black men for sure, for our community. And I get tired of seeing all the negativity and just whatever. I think we're better than that. We're gods, and I don't think gods behave that way. And you know, I think that we live according to our flesh too much. I know we have I feel like living according to your flesh is like your human nature. So it's like we put fleshly things in music and not spiritual things. So it's like, when will we, like, I saw a young lady say that we need God, and that's really the biggest issue is with our community. But a lot of us, I realize, don't really know who God is, or they resent him, or they have a disdain towards him. There's a lot of people have resentments, have questions, have answers. They're not really confident in their spirituality. And I think that a lot of, like I said, we're always looking for a leader. And I think for the leaders that we have, they are not the best representatives. The best representatives are no longer here. And then the ones that we have, their voices are not being heard because they're not appealing to what the majority of us appeal to. So I appreciate, you know, what you do as an artist. Honestly, like, I've listened to many of artists in the city, for sure. I have. And it is hard to make it out. It's hard. I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I don't think I'm gonna talk on him. That might be too much for people. They ain't gonna handle it. But, you know, there's an artist who made it out of the city, and I don't really care too much for the content of his music. He's a Black man. I don't really care too much of it. He always looks like he's drugged up and leaned up and peeled up. And I'm gonna say it. His name is ESTG. He did a song with Jack Harlow, and when you listen to the lyrics, Jack Harlow, the white boy, which I have nothing against white people. I love everybody. I do. It's just the system that I don't fuck with. That's what I really don't fuck with, the system. But and I don't fuck with Black people not sticking together. So in the song, I kind of compared their verses, and there was a part where ESTG was talking about
where they trade back and forth.
Yeah,
I know the part.
I like that part.
All right, I'm gonna start by saying I have bias.
Okay.
Because G is my cousin.
Okay.
So it would be unfair for me to lead into whatever I have to say next without letting you know that I do have a personal bias.
Okay.
Secondly, I can agree with you. It is detrimental to the community, and because I know personally that he's a lot smarter than that, I feel like it's whatever, you know what I'm saying? Because, like, it's not of the crazy potential of music that I've heard from him before. As far as that machine feeding itself, though, like the culture, it's hard to tell people not to sell that when it sells so well.
But that's, you know, but I'm like, why do we like?
Especially when it's something that you actually know, like from personal experience. It's very easy for people to be like, your life that you've lived and all the things that you consider to be negative and something that you would hide from society are things that we want to hear you say. Like, we need to hear it on track. And for every 5 people who say what you just said, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's detrimental to our community. There's 150 people that's like, I love ESTG, his music slap, and that's all it is to it. Because that's also their reality as well.
That's
So
mentality.
there's a line in between me wanting our culture to be different and me understanding that this is the truth of our culture.
Right.
And then, like, for a lot of people, this is exactly the way things go.
So this is so the truth is the truth. We've come from the hood. We've had to do things that, you know, was not the best to get to feed our families. Bottom line, everything we do is because we, like I said, we have lack of resources, and because, of course, crack cocaine was put into the black community in the 80s. We were not originally drug dealers. The original drug dealers were white European men.
Right.
Like, if you do your history, we're not inherently criminal. We're not inherently drug dealers. We're not ignorant, dumb. We're not none of that. So I think that a lot of us have been conditioned to be like, this is all I am. I'm a hood nigga. This is who I, like, they're content with that shit. And that's why they accept the type of music. Some of the females, they accept that I'm a bad bitch and I'm this and I'm that. They accept things that just feeds your ego and not your soul. They don't really, like, a lot of us don't really look in the mirror and deal with ourselves and really touch into that, to God. Like, we like to, we're human. It is, I can't tell people how to live, but I just want us to get together and do so much better, because we've had so many, like you said, Nipsey and Tupac's and, like, Chance the Rapper. Like, we have so many great black men who are pushing positive narratives, and majority of them are dead. Like, when it happens, like, whenever somebody is rising to some type of spiritual ordinance, I feel like it's always taken away. And Chance the Rapper, thank God he's still here, but I don't even think he was on a Nipsey or a Tupac level. But I do want to ask one more question. What does this shirt, what does your shirt represent? This is Jordan's shirt. This is his shirt. And it has a lot of symbols on it. I first saw it with my cousin Kiara. With Kiara, she had it on. And she was supposed to be here, but she wasn't able to, and it's okay.
Shout out to Kiki of Kiki and Cam fame.
Yes, I love you. But yeah, she had this shirt on, and I remember my friend, she was interested in the shirt, and I was as well, as I looked at it, because it's, you know, the symbols and the numbers. So what does this shirt represent? What am I representing today on my body?
Okay, yeah, that's a question that you should have asked me before you put the shirt on.
You right about that.
You
You're
right. There's been some wild contracts that you just signed.
Right.
But the shirt itself is an image of what's known as an ophinem.
That's the ophinem.
Yeah. So the ophinem.
Ophinem.
Yeah. Okay, so it's Hebrew for wheels.
Okay.
And if you remember in the Bible, in Ezekiel, when they talk about how Ezekiel saw the wheel,
okay,
that's what he described.
Yeah.
Wheels within wheels, with eyes all over the wheels, you know, and then everywhere that the eyes looked and the wheels moved, the throne of God would move.
Yeah.
So basically, the way that the choir of angels known as Ophanim works, they call them the thrones, because they carry the throne of God around and move it around, basically.
The cherub.
Well, the cherubs are the ones that float around the throne of God and sing his praises all day. The one with like 4 faces and like all the wings that you see pictures of. Like it's like a face of a man, face of a bull, the face of a eagle, and the face of a lion.
Okay.
And then 4, like 2 wings crossing this way, and then 2 wings crossing down, and then 2 wings holding them up.
Okay.
And they just sing praises to God all day. But like that's like the closest choir to God, and then the thrones would be like the second closest, right? Because they transport God physically to the physical realm, and that's me inside of it.
That's you
holding the middle eye.
You're holding the middle eye.
Yeah, so I was riding in the throne of God, basically.
What is this? Is that that's a person?
That's me.
That's really you?
Yeah, that's me. That's me, for real.
I couldn't see.
It's a picture of me, but it's a silhouette. So.
Oh, silhouette.
Yeah, so like I could send you the actual logo with the colors, and you will see it a lot better.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the throne of God, and me riding in it as a human vessel like people who are lifted to the heavens sometimes to like see prophecy, are often believed to be lifted alongside the throne, which is the word Ophanum on the bottom there.
Right here.
Yeah, down the end.
Okay, right here.
And then number 999 as a flip on 666. But the thing is,
I'm wearing 666. No, I'm playing.
the thing about the number 666 that people don't really understand is the mark of the beast was created in its time for that emperor named Nero, whose name would translate when broken down into Roman numerals into 666. So the mark of the beast was the coinage that they had in their pockets at the time.
Okay.
So you wouldn't be able to purchase anything without the mark of the beast, which was them saying
Right.
you can't buy things without this specific currency from this Roman ruler who is currently taking over the entire eastern seaboard, which was it was mostly a priest doing like a political overview of the way that things were, but using God as that political overview because the Romans believed in Roman gods and not the Christian God. That has been since purported into like 666 is like the mark of the devil, and that unholy ruler that they spoke of being not Nero anymore, but Satan himself, who wasn't even a person back then at that time when it was written. So 666 has been like taken from being the name of a specific person in numerals to being the mark of Satan. While 6 electrons, 6 neurons, and 6 protons make up carbon, which is majority of what humanity is made of. So knowing and understanding like the way that these things work, like on atomic number scales and stuff like that, the importance of the number 3 and like what do they call it, gematria, and
I do not know.
It's like
teaching me some new things today.
Hebrew number counting. It's the thing that they do when they're like, okay, so Offset's birthday was this day, and you take the numbers from this day and you add them all together and you divide them. That's what they're doing.
Okay.
But like they used to use that as like a way to like code like information to each other and tell people things with just the numbers, so that they wouldn't have to write the entire wordage, and people could break it down from there and then redo the numbers and like find correlations in between words and things like that. It's a phonetic thing, you know, but it became a way to bastardize things like the carbon in your own body. You know what I'm saying? Like people took the way that carbon atoms arrange themselves, the fact that there was a guy named Nero whose name translated into 666, and the fact that is now the number for the devil, and they just kind of mashed all that together. So what I was trying to do was separate those concepts again, you know what I'm saying? Which is why I used the number 999 instead of 666.
I do want to say this, and then I have a question, and then we can wrap it up. They did say, let he who has wisdom and understanding be able to interpret what 666 means. It kind of seemed like you just did that to me a little bit. You kind of interpreted it. I don't know, but it just said that in the Bible, and I've always tried to, okay, like, Lord, I believe in God. I believe in Christian. I'm not going to say 100% the Christian. Not the way it's been ran, but I'm a little unorthodox Christian. But I believe that God was challenging me to understand what this meant. And I've always, I'll ask people, what is this? You know? So I want to leave the people with Jordan, Jetson. You know, would you like to shout out your social media? But I want to leave them with, and I want you to answer this question. So I did ask it, but you did tell me like it's kind of like this is what our culture is. So do you believe that? Okay, I believe that it's degenerate and immoral. Do you think that will ever change? Do you think we will ever turn over a new leaf and really start coming to God? Because the music that we promote, the music that we put out there is not of God. It does not show that we are people of God. It shows we are people of the world. So do you think we will ever return to God? Do you ever see a change with our people, mentality and everything?
I don't feel like the black community ever really left God. And I also don't really see our music as inherently negative. I feel like the most popular of our music is inherently negative.
That's what I'm talking about.
But that's because of a culture beyond our own black culture. That feeds into like capitalist mentality. Whereas, like you said, there's not a lot of white people who may sing about murders and uh, womanizing people or selling drugs or this, that, and the other. But almost all of their other media is about exactly that. They don't do anything without killing each other or selling drugs to each other or, like all of the most popular white media is Sons of Anarchy, and Breaking Bad,
and Game of Thrones,
and hurting people, basically. You know what I'm saying? In the long run, like
power.
The society that we exist in, with it being capitalist and with the way that capitalism works, being making money off things that get the most attention, and our brains being wired to pay attention to negative things, that just leads every culture every subculture in the major culture of America feeds into this like negative beast, basically, because it makes money. At the end of the day, the reason that the Jewish mafia pushes negative hip hop is because it makes more money than positive hip hop. Now, if we were to decide as a people that because it's been that way, there was a time where as a people we believed that black people should go to college and that we should go to black owned colleges, and you saw a spike in black people going to college, and or the music lending credence to something different than what it does now, and that having an effect on the people around it. It happens all the time, but there are subtle shifts that are hard to capitalize on when it comes to making money. So a lot of the times these companies will just be like, we could do this, like we could put this singer on, because my playlist is full of artists that I deem as positive, and I also have a playlist that's just a bunch of ratchet stuff, because I kind of understand the dichotomy.
I understand the ratchet stuff, but it's like I only tune into that when I'm in. It's like the ratchet stuff. It's like one day I woke up and I heard some ratchet. I'm like, let me turn this off. I need to start my day off on a positive note, not already feeding myself this stuff. Like I need to start off with gratitude, but that's just me.
It's almost like I guess I kind of look at it like an old man now. Like I've stepped outside of the people who make that music. Like they all look like my little cousin to me. Like G's younger than me, so he's my little cousin. But like he's always looked like my little cousin to me, and even now, like with him being uber famous and rich, he still looks to me like my little cousin. And a lot, what that's done for me is it's taken the people who are his peers, like the Futures and the Lil Babies, and now they also kind of look like my little cousin. So I kind of look at them like younger black people who are just talking about what they know. Now at some point, as it did with me, because I haven't always, paid attention to the way that I think about things or the way I feel. And a lot of my music before I really started recording and stuff was pretty much the same as theirs. But something clicked in me. And I feel like at a certain point, that happens for all people across the board, race regardless. But I think before that, a lot of what takes prevalence in a person is like their most negative traits, because that's what you start with, and then you learn.
You grow.
Yeah,
how to grow up.
Yeah, you learn how to be societally acceptable after that. But if you think about kids, like they're selfish, they're rude, they have no filter.
You have to raise them right.
And yeah, you have to instill that in them.
Instilling right, morals and stuff in our kids. But
so I definitely think like we're on the bad end of the pendulum swing right now, but I do see it as a swinging pendulum that just keeps moving, and I do see us eventually swinging back the other way. The thing is, when people do things like this, they don't find a good middle ground, so they'll go from one extreme to the other extreme, and that upsets the status quo in a way that makes the people who enjoy what's going on now not enjoy what's going on later, and they'll want to swing it back the other way, and then that'll happen the other way, and back and forth forever until there's some kind of common ground where we can agree, yeah, sure, we as a society deal with a bunch of negative stuff, but we shouldn't glorify it.
Yes, that's all I'm saying. It's like, I just, as a black woman, I just see that we are still so lost as a people. We're still lost politically. We have the wrong, politically, spiritually, so many ways. Some of us are found
economically.
even though black women are the smartest demographic of people in the world.
Yeah, but black people were projected to have a net income of $0 in the next 10 years, which seems impossible unless we all just go extinct.
Right.
You know, but that was projected by what, Forbes, I think. So like there's something there. You know what I'm saying? Like as a people, there's no economic control. Like we're the biggest spenders. We make the most over the course of a year, but we spend the most over the course of a year as well.
So I want to end this with my final thoughts. So with our community, we are plagued by a lot of things. There are so much things that plagues our community. Some things we willingly participate in, and some things that are out of our that is not in our control. So it's like we was talking about earlier, you know, voting, bringing up voting. We have these elections coming up November the 11th, November the 8th, and that's for our state and local offices and positions. We're voting for senators, we're voting for a new mayor, we're voting for court districts, we're voting for people to be over the school board. For our community, I just know that once we start, if we feel like voting is going to be what is, because I'm really just trying to find the answer to change. Is it voting? Is it solely just us separating ourselves from this whole system? And was it? I heard a man saying, rebuild and relearn, like you breaking down and you relearning everything you was taught. So is that what it's going to be to get the results that we need to get ourselves out of these conditions? And we need to fight for reparations. I believe we need to fight for reparations, but we need to fight for our minds. We need to fight for our truly freedom. We're still slaves to me. So yeah, that's just how I feel, and I just hope we can do better and find God for real. I feel like we know Him, but I don't think we really know Him. So
I can agree with that. I think
we know He's there, but
issues
we really tap into Him
in our community that we need to like address that will kind of make a domino effect is to address the poverty issue, because my thing being, we know economically that poverty creates crime. We know that it makes low education. We know that poverty makes it hard to find food, which then again cycles back into more crime. We know that low education from poverty makes reproduction rates go up to an unsustainable rate. And if we want happy nuclear households in the black community that are smart and wealthy, the first thing that we need to do is handle the poverty issue. Eliminating poverty from our society means that we can get better education, because if our communities have more money, then those taxes go to our schools, the schools that are in our communities. Then the students who go to those schools become smarter, and they in turn make more money, which makes them more stable members of the community, and that feeds into itself by having them be smarter about the way that they reproduce and the way that they live in their means, and that continues to spiral downwards all the way until in 3 or 4 generations we're at the same level as everybody else economically. The only thing is that for some reason it seems like people completely ignore that, and they try to cut the problem at the crime level, which is a result of something, and not it's an effect and not a cause. You know.
Yeah. So I thank you for allowing me to have some of your time today, for lending your intelligence, voice. Jordan is a great artist. That's why I'm only gonna bring people here that I just value, that I believe has value to them. You know, we want to bring everybody who's valuable together. We need to like I said, we need to organize. Like people who are trying to make a difference, who are trying to make a change, who are really trying to do things out here. We really need to come together. So the message is, we need more people who want to promote, I believe, more positivity. We need to address the poverty. All of these things go into the state, because it's not just music, it's everything. So, Jordan, thank you for coming on to Melanated Television. My name is Vanessa. This is Jordan. Would you like to let them know your social media?
Oh, yeah. Jordan Jetson on everything. The easiest way to find me is through Google. If you Google me, it'll pop up that little box with all my music links and the majority of my social media. Yeah, Jordan like the shoe, and Jetson like the cartoon.
Y'all can Google him. So, y'all have a good night. Y'all have a good evening. My bad. Good evening, a good day. I hope you have some blessings coming your way. If not, I hope that you working hard, that you still keeping your faith, keeping your head up, you loving each other and not hating each other. And thank you for listening to my little television. Till next time.